People are fascinated with tunnels.
It's an engineer's masterpiece. I mean, they built this in the 1900s, 1911.
Coal was still king here. It was always exciting to see the engine emerging from a tunnel, snorting as it came out.
In 1975, the last train went through this tunnel. And after that, I mean, there was never any maintenance done on it at all. The condition of the tunnel was extremely poor, deplorable.
And we just assumed that that's how it would always be.
Well, that was a hard climb, huh?
Adam Uzo, his dad, and two friends are biking the trail from Washington, D.C. to Pittsburgh.
194 miles we've come, and hopefully we'll make it to Ohio Powell by tonight.
They just left Maryland, entering Pennsylvania where the trail crosses the Eastern Continental Divide.
Oh, this is perfect. This is beautiful. We see everything on this trail. So far we've seen deer, turkey, fox. It's perfect. It's beautiful.
An impressive view from Big Savage Mountain, looking out over Maryland. But the sight they've been waiting for is just a few hundred yards away.
Definitely looking forward to seeing this tunnel I've been hearing so much about.
These four guys are about to enter the Big Savage Tunnel in Somerset County, Pennsylvania.
This thing's been here since 1911? Now what went through here, a railroad?
Yeah.
Wow. And now bikers, huh? Rails to trails.
For years, the former train tunnel has been impassable, the missing link on the Great Allegheny Passage biking-hiking trail, which runs from Pittsburgh, then merges in Cumberland, Maryland with the historic C&O Canal Trail, taking bikers the rest of the way to D.C.
I think people realize the symbolism of the tunnel, that it was the big connection. It was our last frontier, our biggest obstacle.
Linda McKenna Box heads the Allegheny Trail Alliance, which constructed and maintains the trail.
Well, a lot of people will ask us, why on earth did we spend $12 million to do this tunnel? And without the tunnel, we could not connect to the C&O Canal towpath and on to Washington, D.C. So we would have had a really great trail system, maybe 100 miles long from McKeesport to Myersdale, but it would have been just that, a regional system of trails, maybe good for us who live in the region, but it would not have become a tourism destination.
Improving tourism and the economy were major goals in this project, but so was preserving the history of Big Savage and the trains that passed through. The tunnel was the second longest on the Western Maryland Railway line, 3,300 feet. That's about 9 football fields end to end. It cut through Big Savage Mountain, allowing the Western Maryland to move coal and freight across the Alleghenies to and from Pittsburgh, in and out of West Virginia and Maryland.
Everybody was involved in coal mining in one way or another.
The first town the trains passed as they came down the mountain was Frostburg.
The tunnel on the Western Maryland was primarily a freight route.
At the Frostburg Museum, memorabilia about the railroad and Big Savage are part of the collection. Betty Van Newkirk is the curator. She's 90 years old, a former psychologist and teacher.
I have sat there a number of times watching a train come out of the tunnel, always with a smoke, a snorting, like a big dragon coming out of its hole. And then it would go slowly around the big curve, trailing those cars behind it. An incredible number of cars loaded with coal in those days. One comes to realize what was actually accomplished. The skills, the engineering, all of the things that were needed in order to make that tunnel possible.
Betty's like many people in Frostburg, who enjoyed the trains and were intrigued by the tunnel on the mountain outside of town. Glad to know part of their region's history is being preserved for future generations.
Well, I grew up just a couple miles over top the mountain here in Frostburg.
Bill Atkinson is now with the Maryland Department of Planning.
We'd play on the tracks and dare people to try to walk through this tunnel without lights at the time. And as a kid, it got pretty scary going in there when it was that dark. We just always assumed this was going to be an abandoned railroad that would just keep deteriorating, as it had.
But restoring Big Savage to its old glory would be like moving a mountain. More than 2 decades of cave-ins had to be cleared. Massive slabs of concrete had crashed down. Giant holes left huge skylights in the roof. It would take 2 years of active construction, sometimes double shifts, working through every season.
It's 69 feet 7/10.
We followed the restoration project through those years with construction manager Roland Rodemoyer. His crew knows him as Rody.
There's about 350 feet of mountain on top of the tunnel.
On this day, snow, ice, and freezing winds are only part of the struggle for Rody and his co-workers. In '75, when the train stopped running, the water started.
There's about 2,000 gallons a minute of water running out of the north end. There's about 200 gallons a minute running out of the south.
Over time, runoff from the mountain above poured into the tunnel through hundreds of cracks and holes.
There was enough water in here that it was you probably could have canoed through it.
At this stage, the job is dark, dirty, cold, and wet. Rody's crew is working to stop the leaks. They've built a drainage system behind the tunnel wall and under the floor.
There are 7,000 anchors in the walls and the crown.
They're using a system of long anchors to keep the walls from crumbling again. Also, insulation to prevent freeze and thaw damage caused by winter winds up on Big Savage Mountain.
The name Big Savage has really fit this whole scene well. It's total wilderness here, very appropriate.
7 months later, the mountain is green again.
Since the last time you guys were down here, that was the old stuff from back in 1911. It was shot, it was crumbling.
Rody's crew has restored the tunnel facade to look like it did in 1911.
Well, you were at 50 yesterday.
They're glad to have that first winter and a lot of hard work behind them.
Patricia said she said today you're probably halfway.
Yeah.
Outside the tunnel, some of the runoff that once ruined the interior has been channeled into a scenic waterfall at the portal. The rest flows through underground pipes and over the side of the mountain. Inside, a substance called shotcrete was blasted onto steel mesh, forming a stucco-like finish on the walls. The tunnel is now dry, stable, and safe.
It's a pleasure to walk through here, and I mean, that's kind of agreed with everybody that's working, because it was a real mess before.
By spring of 2006, the tunnel is finished, and so is the trail at either end.
It's amazing how well these doors held up over the winter.
Huge metal doors are in place now. They're closed in November to protect the tunnel from the icy winds, and reopened in the spring. Bulletproof lights now dot the ceiling. They're mounted every 100 feet.
Wow.
And there we go.
Yeah. Hasn't looked like that for a while, has it?
No, thank God.
Some of the people close to the project are back where it all started.
I mean, there were just a number of issues, technical problems, and actually the project got called off several times, like this, we're pulling the plug on this project. But somehow we mustered the resources and the support in Harrisburg and kept it on track.
With this remote section of the trail off limits for so many years, bikers from all over the Northeast are enjoying sights they've never seen. Over many miles, on either end of the tunnel. But it's clearly Big Savage they're coming to see.
First time. We've been looking forward to it for a very long time. We've gone through many other rail trail tunnels that are leaky, and the ceilings are half falling in, and there's puddles all over the place, and it's a rough floor, and this is absolutely spectacular with the lights and the smooth floor, and it is as good as it gets.
who couldn't be impressed with what they did here? It's almost unbelievable. That's a long way through that tunnel there.
As for Rhodey, the man who transformed a ruined railroad tunnel into a long-awaited tourist destination,
It's all over.
he's left his mark on Big Savage and moved on with a mountain of memories.
When I stand in front of the tunnel and look in there, remembering what it looked like before and what it looks like now, it gives me just such a great feeling.
This tunnel right here has been the key to everything.
It's a legacy for the region.
When people bike through that tunnel, I hope that they get a new appreciation of what our ancestors did, whether it was digging coal or building railroads.
It's like right there, in your face, 1911, Big Savage Tunnel.
We like to think that history is something that keeps on going.